everybody. How's it going? I'm a couple minutes early. Hey, Linda. How you doing, sweetheart? Um, I was just finishing doing a placeholder for Rumble. I'm going to go live on Rumble soon. Well, not necessarily tonight, but oh my god. Oh, all right. Well, I'm just I'm waiting because I told people 6:30 and it's 6:24 and I'm going to bed early tonight. So, no. Howie's already gone and headed out to the races, and I got to go pick him up tomorrow. And then he's going to bring me back here and then take the car because he's got to take Briar. Him and Briar are going to a concert Sunday night. So, hey, Kathy, how's it going, sweetheart? How's it going? All right. First 4 years, part 5. I gotta put my phone on do not. Okay, hang on a second. I'll be with you folks in a second. I can't even find you, Linda. Hang on. Okay, I actually did a card for her. I just didn't pull it. If you go back and you look, I told them I gave them a reading. I just didn't pull a card. I gave them a reading and said, God closes a door, he opens a window. In your case, it's God shut the window, he's opened the door to a new way of life, la, 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 la. So, I didn't actually give her a card, but I did her a reading just the same. Okay. First year, part 5. Wild geese were flying south. By day, the sky was full of them, flying in their V formations. The leaders calling and their followers answering until the world seemed full of their calls. Even at night, they could be heard as the seemingly endless numbers sailed ahead of the cold coming down out of the north. Laura loved to watch them high against the blue of the sky, large V's and smaller V's, with the leader at the point, his followers streaming behind, always in perfect V formation. She loved to hear their loud, clear honk, honk. There was something so wild and free about it, especially at night, when the lonely wild cry sounded through the darkness, calling and calling. It was almost irresistible. It made Laura long for wings so that she might follow. Very much like her dad, eh? Manly said, the old saying is that everything is lovely when the geese honk high. But I believe we will have a hard winter. The geese are flying so high and in such a hurry. They're not stopping to rest on the lakes nor to feed. Remember the hard winter, guys? They're hurrying ahead of a storm. For several days, the wild geese hurried southward. And then one still sunny afternoon, a dark cloud line lay low on the northwest horizon. It climbed swiftly higher and higher until the sun was suddenly overcast. And with a howl, the wind came and the world was blotted out in a blur of whirling snow. Laura was in the house alone when the wind struck the northwest corner with such force the whole house jarred. Quickly, she ran to the window, but she could only see a small wall of whiteness, beyond the glass. Manly was in the barn, and at the sudden shriek of the storm, he too looked out a window. Then, although it was only mid-afternoon, he fed the horses and cows for the night, milked the heifer in the little pail in which he had taken out some salt, and shutting the barn door carefully and tightly behind him, started for the house. As soon as he was away from the shelter of the hay at the barn door, the full force of the storm struck him. It seemed to come from every direction at once. Whichever way he turned his head, he faced the wind. He knew the direction which the house lay, but he could see nothing of it. He could see nothing but a blur of white. It had grown intensely cold, and the snow was powdered dust of ice that filled his eyes and ears. And since he must breathe, he felt smothered. And since he must breathe, he felt smothered. Hey, Tigger! After taking a few steps, he could not see the barn. He was alone in a whirling white world. Keeping his face in the right direction, Manly went ahead. But soon he knew he had gone far enough to be at the house, yet he could not see it. A few steps more, and he stumbled against an old wagon that had been left some little distance south of the house. In spite of his guarding against it, the wind had blown him south of his way. But now he knew where he was. So again, setting his face in the right direction, he went on. You know, these people should have set up some kind of rope. If they knew a storm was coming, they should have had some kind of rope from the barn to the house. You know what I mean? Again, he knew he should have reached the house, but he had not. If he should become hopelessly confused, he might not find it at all, but wander out onto the open prairie to perish, or he might even freeze within a few feet of the house before the storm was over. No shout of his could be heard above the wind. Well, he might as well go on a little farther. No use standing still. Another step. And his shoulder just lightly brushed something. He put his hand and touched the corner of a building, the house. Remember when they went from the school when they were kids and they were heading for the open prairie and she just hit the corner? He'd almost missed it and headed out into the storm. Keeping his hand on the wall, he followed it and came to the back door. Blown in with the storm, he opened the door. He stood and blinked the snow from his eyes in the warmth and shelter of the house he had so nearly missed. He still clutched the milk pail. In the struggle with the storm, he had not spilled the milk because it was frozen. For 3 days and nights, the blizzard raged. Before Manny went to the barn again, he followed the house wall to where the long rope clothesline was tied at the corner. With his hand on the rope, he followed it to the back of the house. Unfastening it at the corner, he followed the house around to the door and fastened the rope there. And to the loose end, he tied a shorter rope, the drying line he had put up in the storm shed. Now unreeling the rope as he went, he could go to the haystack at the barn door, making the rope fast and follow it back to the house safely. After that, he went to the barn and cared for the stock once a day. If they knew there was a storm coming, they live in blizzard country, they should know better. They should know, they say when the geese are flying this high, there's a storm coming. As soon as they saw that cloud, they should have made sure they could get to the barn. While the blizzard shrieked and howled and raged outside, Laura and Manly both stayed indoors. Laura kept the fire going from the store of coal in the storm shed. She cooked from the stores in her pantry and cellar, and she sang at her knitting in the afternoon. Old Shep and the cat lay companionably on the rug before the cook stove, and there was warmth and comfort in the little house standing so sturdily in the midst of the raging elements. Late in the afternoon of the 4th day, the wind went down. It lost its whirling force and blew the loose snow scudding close to the ground, packing it into hard drifts that lay over the prairie with bare ground showing between them. The sun shone again with a frosty light, and huge sundogs stood guard on either side of it, and it was cold. Laura and Manly went outdoors and looked over the desolate landscape. Their ears still throbbed to the tumult of the storm, and the silence following it was somehow confusing. "This has been very bad," Manly said. "We will hear plenty of damage from this." Laura looked at the smoke rising from the stovepipe in their neighbor's house across the road. She had not been able to see it for 3 days. Larsons are all right anyway, she said. Next day, Manley drove to town to get a few supplies and learn the news. The house was bright and cheerful when he came home. The last rays of the afternoon sun were shining in at the south window, and Laura was ready to help him off with his coat as he came in from the barn after putting up his team and doing the night feeding. But Manley was very sober. After supper, he told Laura the news. A man south of town, caught at his barn by the storm as Manley had been, had missed his house going back. He had wandered out on the prairie and had been found frozen to death when the wind went down. 3 children going home from school had become lost, but found a haystack and dug into it. They had huddled together for warmth and had been drifted in. When the storm stopped, the oldest, a boy, had dug out through the snow, and the searchers had found them. They were weak from hunger, but not frozen. See, the kids were smart. Kids were smart. Range cattle had drifted before the storm for 100 miles. Blinded and confused, they had gone over a high bank of the Cottonwood River, the later ones falling on top of the first, breaking through the ice of the river and floundering in the water and loose snow until they had smothered and frozen to death. Men were dragging them out of the river now, hundreds of them, and skinning them to save the hides. Anyone who had lost cattle could go look at the brands and claim his own. The storm so early in the season was unexpected, and many people had been caught out in the snow and had frozen their hands and feet. Another storm came soon, but people were prepared now and no damage was done. After the long, hard winter, did they not realize a storm coming in the west, northwest? Amazing. Anyway, folks, I'm going to let you go. I might go live on Rumble. Let's see what we can do there. I don't know. Every time I want to go live I say I want to go live on Rumble because I want to talk about something. Then I forget what I want to talk about. Commercial. I love you guys. Take care. God bless. And we'll see you again soon for part 6.